Hi, I'm Debbie Cronistray. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And today I'm going to show you how I made this really sweet card. This is made out of Dahlia Days, which is one of our new stamp sets that will be coming out in our January through June. I have a message on my screen, guys. Just a minute. I have to see what it says. I am going to switch you down here. Oh, okay. Nothing important. Okay. January through June catalog. And I'm going to use the dies from Sweet Conversations bundle. I'm using this little heart die for it. So let's go ahead and get started. This one I made using the Magenta Madness and the Shaded Spruce were the two colors that I used. But with this one, I want to make it with Bumblebee and Just Jade and see how that looks. So that'll give us a little different look of it, I'm sure. Okay, so I'm going to start with a piece of basic white cardstock. Let's put these things where I won't lose them. I just lost a set of AirPods, or not one a set. I lost one AirPod recently, and it's driving me crazy. It's got to show up somewhere, right? Okay, so I'm going to cut this at 4 1/4 by 11, and then I'm going to score it at 5 1/2. I'm going to save that other side because we're going to use part of that. And this is the extra thick basic white that I'm using, and that's what I like to use for my card bases. It makes a stronger card. And then on this one, I'm going to cut this at 5 inches by 3 3/4. Okay. Let me just check here and make sure everything is working like it's supposed to be. Okay, perfect. Okay, and then I am going to start out with, I'm going to clean my stamp first to make sure that I have it good and clean because I used red, that pink on it. And this is our Stampin' Chamois, and it does a really good job of cleaning my stamp, but there's still just a hint of pink on it. I want to make sure that's not there. Okay, and then let me just clean off my green here and my greeting as well. Let's clean them all off, make sure they're all good and clean because I am using different colors, and I don't want a hint of the other color left. Okay, so I'm going to start with my card base, and I'm going to start with my Bumblebee here. And I'm going to ink that up really good. And then I'm going to stamp it off and stamp on the top corner here. And then I'm going to do the same thing. Stamp it off and stamp on the bottom corner. So those two are done. And it came out lighter. Now, I'm almost thinking, I don't know if this is dark enough. Let me just check it on a piece of paper. Yeah, it is. Okay. It's going to give me the distinction that I want. So then I'm going to take my stamp and I'm going to ink it up and stamp directly. I'm not going to stamp off this time. I'm going to stamp because I want full intensity. And right there on the top right corner. And then I'm going to stamp on the bottom left corner. Okay, and then I created a mask. And so what I did is I stamped on, the sticky note was yellow. I stamped on that with my previous color. And then I trimmed all around it. So when you trim around the mask, it doesn't matter if you undercut. You just don't want to leave any extra on it. I probably should have stamped a new mask because this one's getting harder to see. So on this stamp, there is a little star-like shape in the middle. And so that's what you're going to want to look at, because I think it's too hard, especially once you start stamping around the edges here, to find the ones that are the same. It could be, see how that probably lines up right there. Okay, and then I'm going to take and I'm going to use just jade, which is a little bit softer of a green. And I am going to stamp my leaves here. And then I'm going to take my mask, perfect, and move it down here, find my little star in the center, and I think it's going to go just like that. If you don't line it up right, then you will have where you've stamped into the flower. And that is where it lines up right there. It's really important that you line up these two sides because that's where you're going to be stamping. And once again, with the Just Jade, just going to stamp those two. Just like that. Okay. Now, I have a greeting that I'm going to stamp. And this one says, "Thank you for your kindness." And I'm going to stamp that right down here in this area. And you want to do all this stamping before you do the next step, which is embossing, kind of. It's kind of embossing. It's using my scoreboard to emboss. So this is done. We're done with these stamp pads. We'll put those away. Okay, now I'm going to bring in my scoreboard. And I like the scoreboard because it gives me a wider impression. And I am using my Take Your Pick tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start scoring at 1 1/4. And I'm going to score there all the way down, turn it around, and score at 1 1/4 from here. I'm going to score every 1/4 inch from there on. So I just goofed it up. So mine's going to be a little different. I'm going to have a gap here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to scoot this over and I'm going to fill that gap evenly between those two. There we go. Not too bad. It's not too obvious. Okay, so you're going to score every 1/4 inch. I started on 1/8 instead of 1/4. Score every 1/4 inch all the way across there, and that's going to give you this look. And then I'm going to take my little heart here, and I'm going to turn it face down, and I'm going to score, move it up into that corner, and I'm going to score at 1/4 inch and at 1 1/2 inches. It's a little tricky to do just because it's so small. But I want those lines so that it'll line up with the lines on the card. Okay, the next thing, oh, we have one more thing to score before we put this away. I have my vellum here, and you don't need a piece this long, but I'm going to score this at 1 inch because I want a 1 inch wraparound. Then this is going to be 4 1/4, so I probably could cut it off at, if I do 1 inch there, 4 1/4, and then another inch. So 4 1/4, 5 1/4, 6 1/4, right in there. Let's cut that off. So I've just scored one side because the other side will fold nicely when we put it on there. So I'm going to take my bone folder and I'm going to crease this really nice, so that when I put it on my cardstock, it's going to sit straight across. That's what's really important. Okay, so I'm going to put some Stampin' Seal on the back of my card here, maybe. I'm going to put a little bit over here because we're going to use it there eventually. So I am going to just fold this around my card where I want it. And I want it so that, this is a 1 1/4 inch piece. So I want it so that it covers just a little bit of both of the leaves. It's not going to. It's not going to cooperate with me. Okay. So let's get it on there. There we go. Perfect. Okay. And then I'm going to put a little bit on this front side here, right on the back of the vellum, just because I want it to stay in place. That did not work. And if I had my my mat under there, it probably would be working much better today. And then this is going to get folded around and creased. And there we are. So our vellum is attached, but it's nicely attached. It's not bowing. If you don't glue it here, it has a tendency to bow. Okay, so then I'm going to attach a piece of ribbon, and this time I'm going to use the gingham, the Bumblebee gingham ribbon, and I put that right here in front of me. I could have used the jade as well. That would have been just as pretty. And then I'm just going to trim that off and tie a bow. I need new scissors. These are, scissors are amazing, but they are a pain. So you see what's happened here? My scissors have been used on, that pair has been used on paper too much. And so now it's time for a new pair, a pair of ribbon scissors. And these do not have ribbon. I usually have a piece of ribbon on my ribbon scissors, so I know which ones I'm supposed to use for it, and they don't. So that would be a good reason why they weren't working very well, huh? They have been used for paper. So I have ordered new glue dots, and they are amazing. Let me put one. I like to put one glue dot underneath my ribbon when I do it this way, just to hold that bow securely in place. And then I've attached a glue dot to my bow. I have my heart, which I've conveniently lost. Okay, here it is. And this is going to go on here, and I'm going to pop it up. So I'm going to use a dimensional on that, and I'm going to use dimensionals on this card front. So I'm just going to line it up so that my lines are coming down, and yet it pops up off of there, just like that. Okay, now I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back of this card. We'll leave that one. I know you don't need this many dimensionals to make it stay, but I want it to stay popped up. So I want it to have a good dimensional base on it. Come off. And I think I have them all off. Yep. And I'm just going to go back and attach this to the front of my card. I love this in the yellow. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? I think that came out really pretty. And then we could add some bling to it. But you know what? It's so pretty just as it is. I love it. So tell me, which one is your favorite? Do you like the yellow better? Or the Bumblebee, excuse me. We'll call it by the right name. The Bumblebee or the Magenta. And this is Magenta Madness, I believe. Yes. Magenta Madness or the Bumblebee. Which one's your favorite? Let me know. Thank you.